Lightning fast counterattacks, a ruthless defensive press, and one of the most unique playstyles you'll see around. Do you want to learn how to play like Jurgen Klopp's title-winning Liverpool in FIFA 21? Well, today, I'm going to teach you how. Hey, what's going on, guys? Respect Jeff here with another tactical breakdown. Today, it's the title-winning Liverpool side from 2019-2020. Now, in terms of the style of play here, it's all about really fast-paced attacks, high-intensity pressing, and very direct play in attack. Long balls over the top, and non-stop rushing behind the lines with wingers like Salah and Mane. Now, in terms of the actual players that this is best for, you want really fast attacking players, attacking-minded fullbacks who can get forward and contribute with either crosses or runs in behind, and then also very dynamic center mids who are able to do both the defensive and offensive side of the game and really make the heart of this team tick. So now you know about the play style, but how do you actually go about setting it up? That's the question. Well, standard run-of-the-mill 4-3-3, but you want the false 9 option. You want the player in that Firmino role to be able to link up play and really bring the wingers in. That's crucial to the way we play here with Liverpool. And now in terms of the way you actually set up the team tactics to make it tick, you want the defensive style set to press after possession loss. Liverpool were a much higher pressing team during the very beginning of Klopp's reign at Liverpool. You could consider setting it to constant pressure as one of your game plans if you want to have different options and sometimes press hard and then sometimes pull back a little bit. But I think for the main purpose of this formation, press after possession loss reflects the way Liverpool play now. You want your width set to 6, your depth set to 7, so you push fairly high up the pitch, maybe not as high as other teams like Man City, but you definitely want to focus on that press. Now I'm actually going to give you 2 options here in the offensive side of things. I set my team for Liverpool set to balanced because I think that's a fair reflection of the way they play, sometimes fast, sometimes a little more possession oriented. Alternatively, you could just set it to fast build-up play. This reflects the way they play a lot. Long balls over the top, very direct play down by the wingers. Again, you could consider creating a couple game plans here. So sometimes you play with the fast build-up, sometimes it's a little more balanced. It's up to you. I think for the purposes of this scenario, I'm going to leave the team unbalanced because, like I said, I think that's a little more of a fair reflection of the way they play overall, but it's up to you to customize these as needed. So you could do it with the constant pressure, you could do it with the fast build-up play. It's totally on you. But like I said, I'll stick with these 2 for the time being. Now, in terms of the settings underneath of this, with both width and players in the box, the width, probably a fair reflection would be 7. You keep it fairly wide, not to a ridiculous degree, but you definitely want to stretch the pitch. And then in terms of players in the box, you could crank this up to 7, get players running in behind. You want to bring the wingers into the play especially, and you want to make sure that they're making runs into the box when you have the ball. So I think this is the way to get your team working best, and you'll see exactly why when I break the actual gameplay down later. 3 and 3 for corners and free kicks. Now, in terms of the actual instructions of the players, this is going to be crucial to the way this team is set up. In the Mane role, you want to set the player to get in behind. The defensive support and chance creation can both be set to balanced on the defaults as well as support and your defensive work. Now, the Firmino role, you can set to mixed attack. You could consider setting this as a false 9 as well. But the crucial thing here is that you set defensive support to come back on defense. It adds an extra man in midfield when you're in the defensive phase of things. And Firmino, for anyone who actually watches games, works his tail off in defense in real life, and again, it's really crucial to the way Liverpool plays. Like I said, you could consider switching him to a false 9 if you want a little bit more of a creative striker. Overall, it's probably more of a mixed attack situation for Firmino in real life. It's not like he only plays as a false 9. He scores plenty of goals and can act as a target man at times. Again, it's kind of up to you. I'm going to leave him at the standard. In the Mohamed Salah role out on the right-hand side, you want to set him to cut inside. This is going to be your main goal threat coming forwards. You also want to set him to get in behind and leave the other settings at default. Now, in terms of the central midfielders, you have 3, notably Fabinho in that role is going to be your defensive player. You want to set him to cut passing lanes and really be the one breaking up play on defense. And now your other center mids are just going to be default. Nothing too special there. They're going to be both helpful into defense and offense, like I mentioned earlier. You want to find players who can kind of do both and contribute in both phases of play. The Fabinho role, obviously you want someone who's just able to break up play. Bonus if they're good offensively, you can kind of support with attacks, but it kind of depends on the team you have set up. And now the fullback fullbacks are also crucial to the way this team plays. You want both of them to set as join the attack and overlap, especially in that Alexander-Arnold role at right back. You're going to want a player who can get up the pitch and cross when the right winger cuts inside. Robertson as well, you're going to set his run types to mixed rather than the overlap, so he can kind of cut inside at times and also contribute in the midfield phase of play, maybe a little slightly less attacking minded than the right back, but they'll play very similar. The goalkeeper you're going to set to sweeper keeper, again to catch out chances when you're going to inevitably get caught out on the counter attack here. And now it's time to actually take a look at some gameplay and how this team plays in practice. Now, the number one thing you're going to want to do here is look for space in behind. Liverpool are not necessarily a possession-based team who are going to patiently wait for play and form the perfect opening. You're going to look very direct, and really it's all about the wingers in this kind of formation. Both the Mane and Salah roles, the left and right wing, they're going to be making constant runs in behind, and if you can feed them the ball in behind and really get them on the end of it, even if it's not going to look pretty like we kind of see here, you're going to get the ball in dangerous positions and force a lot of dangerous moves out of the opposition. And if you can just keep working the ball up the pitch, you want to constantly look for space in behind. You see even here Fabinho getting himself up the pitch, even though he's more of a defensive midfielder, you're going to have players bombing up, and as long as you keep your head up and look for that space and runs in behind, you're going to get all kinds of players in this sort of formation finding themselves on the end of those passes. Now, also like I mentioned earlier, you're going to want to focus on having your wingers be your primary goal scorers. You want to have players who can take people on one-on-one. You see Salah doing a lot of the hard work there, really taking on several defenders and scoring a goal on his own. But this is going to be the running theme you see here. You want your wingers to be scoring the lion's share of goals, really. Your striker is definitely going to get involved a lot, but you want to focus on using him more as a playmaker. We'll get to that in a minute, but you're going to find both of your wingers on either side of the pitch really being the ones who are putting the ball in the back of the net. Now, like I just mentioned, you want to focus on using your striker as a playmaker, especially if you have him set to that false nine role, but as a false nine anyways in the formation, he'll be getting involved constantly. You can see 1-2s here with the wingers, and again, you're going to want to bring them into play and focus on having them be the primary goal scorers. This is a perfect example of it. Firmino, little 1-2 with Mane, who can just lay it off and have a shot from distance. If you can find players of this quality, you're going to score a lot of goals like that. Again, it kind of depends on the personnel you have available to you, but what you really want to focus on here is just having your striker be available in the center of the pitch and continue, like the earlier theme I mentioned, working balls in behind. You want to constantly be playing through balls and using the pace of your attacking power effectively. You can see again here an example of the false nine, bringing that left winger into play. If you have someone in the Mane role who can really use his pace in behind to get himself in goal scoring situations like that, you are going to score plenty using this kind of setup. You definitely want to focus on having a striker who has decent passing stats at least, so he can pull off passes like that. It's not going to be successful if you have necessarily an out-and-out number 9 being the one making all those passes. You're going to get caught offsides plenty. Not every pass is going to come off perfectly, but you want to keep focusing on playing this general play style, and you're going to get a fair share of chances coming off for you. Now, if that sort of play isn't always coming off, your other option are the fullbacks. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to use them for the width. A lot of the wingers play is involved in cutting inside and looking for a goal, but you're going to have both your left back and your right back pushing high up the pitch, especially the right back. If you want to stay true to Liverpool, you want someone who can cross balls in and do so accurately as well. If you can find your striker or your wingers on the other side running into space, you're going to score plenty of goals like this as well. It's able to switch up play this way a little bit and not necessarily always be focused on just bombing down the wings and playing through balls, because especially if you're playing online, the opposition is going to catch on to that eventually. So this just gives you a little bit of a different option in terms of play style and opening up space. You can send in some crosses if the plan A isn't necessarily going according to plan. Now, the last thing you want to watch out for is using your striker, like I mentioned earlier, to press in midfield. You want a player who can break up play and really start to clog the center of the pitch. It adds like a fourth man in midfield when you're defending, and it makes it really hard, especially if the opposition is focused on playing through their central midfielders, for them to get anything going. And then obviously offensively, he can start to use that to spring back into attacks. And since he's already in midfield, he can start making some of those passes effectively when you win the ball back. So there you have it, guys. Just to reiterate the style of play here, fast-paced attacks. You want to constantly be sending the ball up the pitch and looking for goals. The high pressing backs everything up and continues to win the ball back for you, so you can keep funneling it towards your attackers, primarily wingers who are looking for goals. And then obviously the name of the game in play style is long balls over the top. You want to use pace and use it effectively. It's a style that's really conducive to FIFA overall and will get you plenty of goals. Now, if you guys want to get more involved with the channel, help me manage the team, help me figure out what tactical breakdowns to do, or just get some behind the scenes content into some of the faces I'm making for my Schalke career, kits, things like that, go to patreon.com/respectthejeff. Check it out. You can join my Discord channel where we've been having awesome discussions and really groundbreaking stuff going on behind the scenes here. Or you could at least consider just subscribing to the channel. Helps me out a ton, and I would appreciate it as this channel continues to grow and shape itself going here into the future. So I'll be back soon with more content like tactical breakdowns and career mode series. But until then, I'm Respect the Jeff, and I'll see you next time.